Welcome back to Naval Action and episode 74 of A Letter to the King. If you're new to the series, it's my attempt to keep us up to date with what's going on PvP-wise on the global server, the server that never sleeps, or perhaps the server that no one ever logs into, depending on how you want to look at things right now. Bit of a bad news, good news this week, I suppose. So last week, not a great deal of ports moved hands. The Antilles is a mess for the French. The pirates are pretty much holding on to all their ports, and very little action to report really. And this week, we'll have a quick look at the political situation, which is perhaps a little moot at the moment, but the Brits and the pirates are still strongly enemies. The French, I fear the French have left the server. Those that are left probably still hold umbrage with the pirates and the Swedes, and everybody else is in a sort of non-aggression neutral type of mode. So really there's only been one bit of action this week, and that was right at the start of the week. The Brits in the Aussie time zone finally got their shiz together and rocked up with pretty much a 25-man first-rate fleet. There were a couple of non-first rates in there, seconds and thirds, but it was pretty much a full-blown fleet, and much excitement was to be had. We got all dressed up, sailed round to Savannah La Mar, and much like the Brits did at Portobello when they realised they didn't stand a chance, the pirates chose not to do battle. I think they managed to snag a couple of screeners outside, but they ceded Savannah La Mar back to the Brits. Obviously, I think this one was done in, I don't think it was done, I know it was done, this was done in the Aussie time zone, so not a time that the pirates can really get a big force on. So Savannah La Mar rightfully returned to His Majesty's grateful arms. There has been a bit of hostility toing and froing down around Portobello, but raising hostility down here is next door to impossible. We sailed for 2 hours from Conception, actually all the way to Cartagena. The largest pirate fleet we saw was 350. We then spent the best part of Saturday there, managed to get it up to about 60%. Again, no fleet greater than about 600 was seen. No pirates obviously came out to defend, because that's just giving away BR. And I think the Brits got it up to about 60%, and then the pirates just did their thing and pushed it back down when it was in their prime time. So a bit of a stalemate here. The Brits slowly raising hostility, the pirates slowly putting it back down. The rest of the nations absent without orderly leave, to be honest. There's a lot of open world PvP outside Charleston. The pirates basically looking for fights. As we all are, realise that probably their best place to get a fight is out of Charleston, so they're running up and down, giving everyone a bash around this neck of the woods, and they're taking a few losses themselves. So this is probably where the best open world PvP is right now. But other than that, not a lot going on, I have to say. So really, the coast of Charleston and off the Portobello, Cartagena regions is where you might see a bit of open world malarkey. Outside of that, it's pretty threadbare at the moment. Server numbers are down again this week to pretty much their all-time low. Now, some of that is agitated by the fact the test server opened this week, and I will get onto that in a moment. The only likely port battles I can see next week might be around Portobello or Cartagena, but at the moment, with the Pirates' main player base being in a different TZ to the Brits' main player base at the moment, one raises and the other drops pretty much unopposed, so we'll just have to see how that goes. And this is really the good news. So the Unity 5 release is on the test servers. There's instructions in the forums as to how to get there. It's a bit pesky in that you type in a beta code on your properties page, and then it downloads a gigabyte of new client that essentially overwrites your standard client. Then you can play on the test server, and if you want to come back to play on the main server, you simply choose the open world rather than the testbed, and it re-downloads another gigabyte and puts your game back as it wants it to be. Now, the exciting thing on the testbed is that you get access to 3 new ships. They actually give you 5 ships in redeemables, I think it is, and a bag of cannons, and not enough rum and repairs, but that aside, so there's 3 new ships on the server. There is the unpronounceable Prince Nutfishel Frufrel. This was named by a prince who was particularly bad at Scrabble and quite possibly Welsh, looking at the huge absence of vowels in the arse end of that name. So Prince Nutfish, the Wassa, or Vasa, which was a Swedish ship. Now, the original Vasa was a first rate that had a very terrible story in that it was launched and they had the guns open and water poured into the gunnels, and she sank about 300 metres out of dock. The one in the game is a 4th rate. It's a 60 gun 4th rate, and it was launched much later in 1778 and was involved in a battle against the Russians that the Swedes actually did quite well in. And the last one is La Hermione. And it's a French ship that, of course, was inevitably captured by the British. So these 3 ships are great to play. The Wassa seems to be the everybody's favourite. It's a 4th rate, and at the moment now, I will do ship reviews on all of these later on, but I'm just going to wait for them to get tuned out, because at the moment I suspect they're a little bit too good. So the Wassa seems to be faster, better at turning, and outguns the Aggie at the moment, but it's a great fun ship to play. I haven't sailed the Prince much. I did give Le Hermione, the Hemorrhoid, a go, and it's a new 12-pound frigate, which is nice. It's a pretty ship. It seemed to turn through the wind like there wasn't a thing with turning through the wind. It's almost impossible to get caught in irons. So I think it's perhaps got a bit of malarkey going on. But we'll see as they tune that out. I've got a couple of shots for you. Here you go. So on the left here is the lovely Le Hermione, and you can see the one on the right here is the real one. The nice thing with all 3 of these ships is that they're all actually in museums, or as you can see in this case, in fine fat. Look at all that rigging, crazy bonkers. Imagine having to work out. Imagine getting a knot in there. Imagine having to work out the pulley system for all that rigging. Isn't it crazy, eh? But you can see they've just done a fantastic job of replicating the ships. On the test server itself, there have been a couple of problems. There's been people with AMD graphics drivers having a bit of fun. There seems to be some problems there. There seems to be a bit of an oddball thing with the waste smoke. Sometimes is depicted. It sometimes seems to flare out at wonky bonky angles. There's a little trace of perhaps the next patch on there with some of the clan-based RVR. Hard to tell exactly how it's meant to work. The other great news is with the Unity 5, I don't know about everybody else. Well, I know about the guys I spoke to. Everyone seems to get a bit of an FPS boost. I got an extra 20 FPS just sailing around, and slightly more actually when I was in battles, which was nice. I had no crashes at all. I did have some oddball stuff with sail damage. I haven't read all the posts in the forums. I think a few other people, I think maybe was it the Prince or the Hermione? One of them seems to have no mass thickness, and it doesn't bode well. But look at that fantastic replication of the ship there. And the colours look good, and I must admit I do have a bit of sympathy for the devs. They have been winding me up recently with their lack of love for us, but all of this lovely new ship models, and I'd say 2/3 of the posts are people complaining about the paint jobs. As far as I can tell, they seem to have done a pretty good job with the paint jobs in that they reflect the colours of the actual ships, and perhaps in our lovely RGB paletted world, we're a little sensitive to some of the rather mundane colours that were available to the people who used to be able to paint and dye materials back in the day. So that's the Hermione. The other one is the Wassa. Now, the actual Wassa, I haven't got an image of her. I should have kept an image of her. This is a little sort of duller on the actual Wassa. But she's a nice ship to sail, I have to say. Great fun to sail at the moment. So if you get the opportunity, there's not much going on the primary servers. You might want to, I'd recommend giving this baby a run. You do get cannons in your redeemables, and so give that a go. Like I said, I didn't actually sail the Prince Nutfischl Fuffle. Oh, I thought I had a picture of it. Evidently I don't. So as far as the tally of Splinter Cell and Blood goes, the Brits up 3, the Pirates down, nobody else bothered. I get the impression on Global that a few players, because the numbers are so small now, may have migrated to the other server, because at least you'll get a little bit more open world action, even if you can't play because you're outside of their lockdown RVR period. I'm hoping that when the Unity 5 engine makes it to the primary servers, the alpha servers, we might get a bit of a kick up again in players. If not, there's a bit of trouble at mill for naval action open world at the moment, and I'm super looking forward to Legends, but you know, that's another thing. It wasn't in my mind to replace playing my lovely open world naval action, but we'll have to see what goes on there. So it was a bit of a quick letter to the King this week, mostly based on the fact that there's not very much action to report, and hard to make it up. We'll just have to hope that some stuff happens and things get better. Right now it's a bit bleak, I have to say. I can't see what it'll be that brings folks back, but you know, always hopeful, I suppose. So we'll have a look at that. And it's a day earlier than normal. Now, that's not to make up for the fact that I've been slack or otherwise employed with my previous 2 naval actions. It's more to do with the fact that I'm away on business the first half of this week. It's business time. And I'm travelling interstate, so I won't be around to do my regular Monday one, so you're getting it a day early. So that's it for this week's very much shortened letter to the King. Give us a like, give us a subscribe. I'll see you on the ocean, and I'll catch you.